Does everyone have to take the English test? Do children of naturalized citizens have to apply and pay the fee on their own? Today, we're going to be covering some special exceptions in immigration law that might make your path to citizenship a little bit easier. Hi, I'm Michael Hendricks, the King of Citizenship, and welcome to another episode of Your American Story, a complete guide to naturalization in the U.S. and U.S. citizenship. And this is brought to you by Hendricks Law and the Hendricks Citizenship Academy. Normally, everyone has to pass the English test to become a U.S. citizen, or you need to speak English natively. But the law recognizes that learning a new language becomes harder when we get older. Because of this, there are some special exceptions for age and residency. So first, the 520 rule. This rule specifically states that if you're 50 years of age or older and you have 20 years of lawful permanent residency or more, you have an exception to taking the English portion, that is the spoken English, the written, and the reading. And also during your civics exam, they won't ask you the questions in English. They'll ask you them in your native language, whether they speak it or through an interpreter. The same is true of the 55-15 rule. So this one is if you are 55 years of age or older, and you've been a lawful permanent resident for at least 15 years, you fall under the same exception. If it makes it easier to remember, these two total 70. Now, you can't be 60 years old with 10 years of residency. It doesn't work that way. These are the two rules: 50-20, 55-15. You can do the civics exam, like I said, in your own language, as well as not have to do the reading portion, writing portion of the English portion of the naturalization process for U.S. citizenship. In both cases, you still have to study the full set of civics questions, and you have to be prepared to answer. There's another exception called the 65-20 rule. Okay, let's not get these confused. The 50-20 and the 55-15 are only exceptions to where you can do the naturalization process or the citizenship interview in your own language, and you no longer have to do the written or spoken or read portion of the English. Okay, so the 65-20 rule is a little bit different because it also keeps you from having to do it in English. If you don't speak English, you can do it in your native language. But then it also gives you another exception to where you're able to do the civics exam with the easier format. In other words, they only have 20 questions for you to learn, and you have to answer out of those 20 questions. So instead of having to study the whole set, which is 128, now you're down to only 20 questions that you use to study in order to be able to respond to the ones that you need to. So that's the 50-20 rule and 55-15. Both allow you to do the full process, but in your native language. No English writing or reading, and you can do the process, the interview in your native language, including the civics exam, but you still have to study the full set. 65-20 allows you to do it in your native language, that, in other words, not have to do it in English, but then it also allows you to do an easier test where you only have 20 questions to study rather than the full set of questions. Now, there's another exception for military. So if you or anybody, so this is an incredible exception, by the way, men and women who have served in our military deserve recompense, not just the pay they get for serving and not just the respect, but also other things. And one of the many things that they have available is a special regulation for those who have served in the military. Under Section 328 and 329 of the INA, the Immigration and Nationality Act, if you've served honorably in the United States Armed Forces, no matter the branch, and you don't have to be active duty, it could be reservists as well. But if you've served honorably in the U.S., your path to citizenship is usually fast-tracked. So during periods of military hostility, you don't even have to wait the standard 3 to 5 years. You can apply almost immediately. Remember, let me repeat that. So during times of military hostility, so if you're put in an active war zone, then you may have even more of an exception than those who are in the other portions. Furthermore, the government waives the filing fee entirely for this group of people, the military service people, men and women. In a small way, this is the country saying thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your sacrifice, and thanking your family as well. So there are various. So now we have the 55-15, the 50-20, the 65-20, and the military exception. But let's also talk about kids. Under INA Section 320, if you naturalize as a parent and become a U.S. citizen, your children might automatically become a U.S. citizen as well on the exact day. So the way this works is if your child is under 18 years of age and they are a lawful permanent resident living with you, when you, the parent, take your naturalization and do your citizenship and get approved for your citizenship, they automatically that day become U.S. citizens. Now, there's still a process for the recognition of that status. So they automatically that day become a U.S. citizen, but they still have to file an N-600 with the appropriate fees in order for them to obtain the certificate of citizenship. So you get a certificate of naturalization. They get a certificate of citizenship under the N-600, and then they can apply directly for their U.S. passport. So one of the greatest joys in my practice is being able to tell a person that they've now been approved for U.S. citizenship. When they become a U.S. citizenship, it's just a joy. The first person I ever helped was a quadriplegic. He was not an older man. He was a very young man. He got hurt when he was like 11 years old, ended up being a quadriplegic. His mom had to take care of him. It's the very first naturalization I ever did to help somebody get their citizenship while I was still in law school. And this was eons ago. That's why I have all this gray hair. So with him, they did his naturalization interview, his citizenship interview directly there. And then immediately, since he was a quadriplegic, they took him out into the lobby and did the oath of allegiance, therefore being able to give him his certificate of naturalization on the spot. Well, they had to print it and send it to him, but his approval and then his oath done on the spot. His whole family was crying. He was just so elated as much as you could observe. It was just a time that just made me understand what it is that we're doing. But the minor children that are automatically become U.S. citizens right alongside them, it secures the future for an entire family in one day. That is as close to magic as you can get. Helping one person go through the process and be able to fight for what they want and get their citizenship in the U.S., and then having their kids be able to obtain their proof of citizenship. It just secures everyone at the same time. People who have been fighting for years to get their status, for years to be able to obtain a place in this beautiful experiment that we have. So you today need to think about getting your citizenship. Every path that starts should be looking forward to ending its citizenship, whether that's a U visa and it's going to take you 20 plus years, or whether that's an adjustment of status through your child or through your employer. Everything should be leading up to citizenship, because that is when you are truly protected. You're truly part and parcel of this great experiment. So I appreciate you being with me today. If you have enjoyed this episode, please give us a follow. Follow us on different social medias. We're on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We're all over the place. Follow us. If you need help with your process, go ahead and give us a call. The link is below. As well as I have a free naturalization guidebook that kind of walks you through all of this, available in English and in Spanish. The website link is below. We have a 300-page book that's mostly meant for practitioners, but if you're interested in it, that's going to be available on Amazon here soon, that you'll be able to purchase. And then just give us a holler. Let us know. Like our material. Share it with other people. We're here to help you. I'm Michael Hendricks, the King of Citizenship, and I look forward to speaking with you again. Thank you.